The year was 2009. The Detroit Lions had come off an 0-16 season and were awarded the first overall pick in the draft. And with the first overall pick in the 2009 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions selected Matthew Stafford, quarterback, Georgia. Stafford might be the Lions' all-time leading passer, but in 10 years, he's never won a playoff game and never truly ranked among the game's elite signal callers. He's been good, but not exactly the guy you want to break the bank for. With the second pick, the St. Louis Rams selected Jason Smith, tackle, Baylor. Miss. After 3 underwhelming and injury-plagued seasons, the Rams moved on from the number 2 overall pick. The Jets decided they'd seen enough after 1 season and cut ties, leaving Smith never to be heard from again on an NFL field. With the 3rd overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs selected Tyson Jackson, defensive end, LSU. Miss. Jackson was expected to add some bite to the Chiefs' pass rush after logging 17 career sacks in 4 seasons at LSU. That didn't quite work out. In 8 lackluster NFL seasons, Jackson registered a total of 9 sacks, far less than what you'd expect from the number 3 overall pick. With the 4th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks selected Aaron Curry, linebacker, Wake Forest. Miss. Curry was considered the top linebacker in the draft and in some circles was in the running to be the top overall pick. But after 2 seasons, Curry lost his starting job to rookie KJ Wright and was shipped off to Oakland, where he'd play 13 more games before eventually retiring in 2013. With the 5th pick in the draft, the New York Jets selected Mark Sanchez, quarterback, USC. Miss. Look, maybe Pete Carroll was right when he said Sanchez should have stayed in school another year. Despite back-to-back AFC Championship game appearances, the Sanchez never turned into the Jets' savior. Credit his staying power, though. He made an NFL start for Washington in 2018. With the 6th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals selected Andre Smith, tackle, Alabama. Meh. Actually, meh might be kind to a player who's played 16 games just twice in a 10-year career and hasn't started more than 8 games since 2015. After stops in Minnesota and Arizona, he's back where it all began in Cincinnati, but the expectations are drastically different this time around. With the 7th pick, the Oakland Raiders selected Darius Hayward-Bay, wide receiver, Maryland. Miss. There were serious questions about Hay-Bay's ability to be a star in the NFL after posting just average numbers in Maryland, but once he ran the fastest 40 time among wideouts at the Combine, we all pretty much knew he was going to be a Raider. With the 8th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Eugene Monroe, tackle, Virginia. Meh. Monroe was considered to be the 2nd best tackle in the draft, something he never really lived up to. But even if he wasn't the standout many of the draftniks projected, he was a steady contributor during his 7-year career. With the 9th pick, the Green Bay Packers selected B.J. Raji, defensive tackle, Boston College. Meh. Raji never matched his breakout 2010 campaign, though he did make his only Pro Bowl appearance a season later. Added points, though, for rocking that hula dance after scoring a touchdown in the NFC Championship game. With the 10th pick, the San Francisco 49ers selected Michael Crabtree, wide receiver, Texas Tech. Meh. Crabtree is the most statistically productive receiver in this class, but it's hard to argue that he's the best wideout when the Patriots selected Julian Edelman in the 7th round. Either way, you'd like to think a top 10 pick would have made at least 1 Pro Bowl appearance at this point. With the 11th pick, the Buffalo Bills selected Aaron Mabin, defensive end, Penn State. Miss. The number 11 overall pick in the 2009 draft made 1 career start in 4 NFL seasons while registering a total of 36 tackles. Want to see a head-scratching stat line? Mabin's 2011 season with the Jets reads 6 sacks, 8 QB hits, and 12 total tackles. Huh? With the 12th pick, the Denver Broncos selected Noshawn Moreno, running back, Georgia. Meh. Moreno's big 2013 season, when he scored 13 total touchdowns, overshadowed an otherwise unremarkable career, though he might be more remembered for letting the waterworks flow on the sideline during the national anthem than anything else. With the 13th pick, the Washington Redskins selected Brian Orakpo, linebacker, Texas. Hit. Injuries kept Orakpo from reaching his full potential during the first half of his career, but a solid second act with the Titans solidified him as one of the top players from a fairly dismal top 15 in this draft. With the 14th pick, the New Orleans Saints selected Malcolm Jenkins, defensive back, Ohio State. Hit. Jenkins was just okay during his stay in New Orleans, but he's really turned things up a notch since landing in the Eagles' nest. In 5 seasons with Philly, Jenkins has snagged 11 of his career's 17 interceptions while making 3 Pro Bowls in the past 4 seasons. With the 15th pick, the Houston Texans selected Brian Cushing, linebacker, USC. Meh. The start of Cushing's career gave the impression that Canton was squarely in his future, but injuries and suspension derailed any Hall of Fame hopes and prevented Cushing from duplicating his early career feats. At least we'll always have that scene in Hard Knocks when he left it all on the field. With the 16th pick, the San Diego Chargers selected Larry English, linebacker, Northern Illinois. Miss. English never really made the transition from being a college defensive end to being an NFL linebacker. It didn't help that injuries forced him to miss 28 games during his 5 seasons with the Bolts. One lackluster year with the Bucs was enough to seal his pro football fate. With the 17th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected Josh Freeman, quarterback, Kansas State. Miss. The Bucs under Raheem Morris might have been young and hungry, but Freeman wasn't setting the table. In 4 seasons with Tampa, Freeman's touchdown to interception ratio was 1.2. In case you're not a stat hound, that ain't good. With the 18th pick, the Denver Broncos selected Robert Ayers, defensive end, Tennessee. Meh. Ayers never solidified himself as a starter in college, but the Broncos still spent a mid-first round pick on him. History repeated itself as Ayers never became a full-time starter in the NFL, coming off the bench for more than half of his career 120 games. With the 19th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Jeremy Maclin, wide receiver, Missouri. Meh. Maclin had 2 seasons with over 1,000 yards, 2 seasons with 10 touchdowns, and for a year or 2 was considered a top-tier wide receiver. The rest of the time, however, Maclin was a good but not great pass catcher who never lived up to his hype coming out of Mizzou. With the 20th pick, the Detroit Lions selected Brandon Pettigrew, tight end, Oklahoma State. Meh. Pettigrew was Detroit's 2nd pick in the top 20 and appeared to be on his way to a decent career in the Motor City with 3 straight seasons of 100-plus targets. Then the Lions added Reggie Bush in 2013, eating significantly into Pettigrew's opportunities before a knee injury at the end of 2015 effectively ended his stay in Detroit and the NFL. With the 21st pick, the Cleveland Browns selected Alex Mack, center, Cal. Hit. Mack was an above-average starter in Cleveland before becoming one of the best centers in the game with the Falcons. And with 6 Pro Bowl appearances, including 4 consecutive trips, he's easily one of the top selections from the 2009 first round. With the 22nd pick, the Minnesota Vikings selected Percy Harvin, wide receiver, Florida. Meh. Harvin's speed and versatility were supposed to make him a Swiss Army knife in the Vikings offense as a rusher, receiver, and kick returner. The problem was durability. Harvin missed 53 of a possible 128 games in 8 seasons and retired twice. The second retirement in 2016 was the one that stuck. With the 23rd pick, the Baltimore Ravens selected Michael Oher, tackle, Mississippi. Meh. Maybe people expected too much from Michael Oher. That's what happens when you have a book and movie made about you before you ever step on an NFL field. Even Sandra Bullock would admit that he was a serviceable lineman who never stuck at either tackle position and didn't quite live up to the billing. With the 24th pick, the Atlanta Falcons selected Harriet Jerry, defensive tackle, Mississippi. Miss. A knee injury wiped out nearly his entire rookie season, but the following years didn't offer much more hope. In his first 4 campaigns with the Falcons, Jerry made 15 total starts and recorded 2 sacks. He eventually retired before the start of the 2014 season. With the 25th pick, the Miami Dolphins selected Vontae Davis, cornerback, Illinois. Meh. Speaking of retirements, Vontae Davis hung him up at halftime of Buffalo's Week 2 game against the Chargers last season. But before his abrupt goodbye, Davis had a decent run, highlighted by a pair of Pro Bowl seasons with the Colts. With the 26th pick, the Green Bay Packers selected Clay Matthews, linebacker, USC. Hit. Matthews isn't the feared pass rusher that he was early in his career, but entering his 11th season, he remains a stalwart of the Packers' defense and is the only player drafted in the 2009 first round to notch a first-team All-Pro selection. With the 27th pick, the Indianapolis Colts selected Donald Brown, running back, Connecticut. Miss. Brown rushed for more than 2,000 yards in his final collegiate season at UConn. It took him more than 4 NFL seasons to reach that mark in the pros. Brown was never more than a role player and never played another down after 2015. With the 28th pick, the Buffalo Bills selected Eric Wood, center, Louisville. Meh. Wood spent his entire 9-year career with the Bills before a neck injury forced him to retire after 2017. Before that, he was a solid contributor on the offensive line with 1 Pro Bowl selection. With the 29th pick, the New York Giants selected Hakeem Nicks, wide receiver, North Carolina. Meh. The early part of Nick's career suggested he was set to become a top-level wideout with 24 touchdown catches in his first 3 seasons. But the decline came swiftly, and Nicks visited the end zone just 7 more times in his final 4 years before ending his career with a forgettable 6-game stretch in 2015. With the 30th pick, the Tennessee Titans selected Kenny Britt, wide receiver, Rutgers. Meh. The watchword for Britt's career was potential, but injuries and suspensions kept him from fully reaching his zenith. In a surprising 2016 season, Britt logged his only career 1,000-yard year, leaving us to wonder what might have been. Alas, he was released by the Patriots before the start of the 2018 season. With the 31st pick, the Arizona Cardinals selected Chris Beanie Wells, running back, Ohio State. Miss. Wells spent the first 2 years of his career stuck behind Tim Hightower in Arizona before getting a chance to be the full-time starter in 2011. That moment in the Arizona sun didn't last long. Wells clashed with management, was eventually released, and tore his Achilles in a workout with the Ravens in 2013 and never played again. With the 32nd pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Evander Ziggy Hood, defensive end, Missouri. Meh. Hood has had decent longevity, playing for 6 teams in 10 seasons, though he's only been a part-time starter for much of his career.